Hi, I'm here to talk about the films that I was watching in May. I keep forgetting what month just has gone. It's ridiculous. That's what happens when you're on summer, just everything just... How, how very articulate, Anna. Yeah, okay. So anyway, the first film that I watched in May was Chinatown, which is an older film. I think it... was it made in the 80s? I don't know. Should really look this up before I start filming. 1974 it was made, directed by Roman Polanski, starring Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway. That's how this video should have gone. Anyway, I really loved it. I think it's one of those films where even if you weren't alive during the time it was made or the time it depicts, you just feel very, very nostalgic. It's a very classic film in the way it's made. The dialogue, the music, the camera, the acting even, it's just, it speaks of like an old time kind of like classic Hollywood, and I really, really loved it. I thought both actors were fantastic and it was a really engaging story as well. It was about the water crisis that LA was going through, I think in the 80s maybe? No, not in the 80s because it was made in the 70s and I'm being stupid. But the LA water crisis, but then it's also about the two main characters and the kind of backstory. I don't want to give too much away. It's one of those films that starts off and slowly reveals each new kind of story and subplot, and yeah, I just really loved the way it was crafted and the kind of pace of it and just the way it kind of wraps you up in this world that you don't even know but that feels so familiar. Also, I think what helped is that I saw it in the cinema. It was at my local cinema, they often screen kind of old films. They call it Vintage Sundays, I think. And that was really, really lovely, just seeing this kind of, not grainy, but like just this old colour film like on a huge screen. It was really kind of magical, and I really, really loved it. The next film that I saw in May was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And it made my heart so very happy. It's such a fun film and it's so unapologetic in its funness. It's very honest about the fact that it's there to have a good time, it's there to entertain you, it's not trying to be dark and gritty and, you know, say something important about the state of the world. It's just there to help you have fun, basically, and it's brilliant. It's so brilliant. There are so many amazing performances from all of the actors. You can tell the chemistry between them. They're like a family, and it's just, the soundtrack is obviously amazing, you know, like the first one, and I just thought it was so brilliant and I wouldn't have changed anything about it. And it's what people need, I think, especially in like the current landscape. It's just nice to go and see a film to be entertained, and that's it. You don't have to have a reason. The next film I saw at the cinema was Miss Sloane, which is a kind of political thriller starring Jessica Chastain. It's about a lobbyist who's initially asked to lobby for a pro-gun group or company. I don't really... you can tell that I'm well versed in law and politics, but anyway, but it kind of goes against her personal beliefs, so she switches to the other side and campaigns for gun control, and it was brilliant. I thought Jessica Chastain was fantastic as the main character, Miss Sloane. She's a powerhouse and she just owns every scene that she's in. And also the film was very relevant in the current climate. It was very fast-paced, very engaging. You're kind of wholly absorbed in it from start to finish, and I would say fans of kind of Aaron Sorkin's work, like Newsroom or The Social Network or Steve Jobs, basically anything Aaron Sorkin has done, you will like this. It's very, very similar in terms of the sharp dialogue, the tough but relatable characters, and the way the story is so slick. There's not a wasted word. It's very, very concise, and I really loved it. I really highly recommend it. I really want to get into more kind of political thrillers, because even if you think that you're not into politics, these films are never really centered on that. Of course it's a huge factor of the film, but it's also about how policy and government affects people, and it's about the people stories, and that's kind of the strength of this film. I thought you very much get a sense of how what's going on in the White House affects everyone's daily lives, and that's what this film is about, really. And lastly, it's not a film, but what I've been watching in May, I finished Gilmore Girls, and I have like so many I know it's a very well loved series, so I don't want to, like, you know. Oh god. I mean, I did watch all 7 seasons and the revival, so of course there was stuff that I liked about it. I'm not gonna just crap on it for the sake of it. And one big strength of it for me personally was how female centric it was. I mean, that sounds obvious because it's called Gilmore Girls, but it's very rare that you see a movie or a TV show that central characters are, one, female, but two, also different types of women. So it's Rory, who's obviously a teenager, and then her mother, and then you also, her grandmother is also very prominent in the narrative, and then also that these women, their lives, like, don't revolve really around men. A lot of the narrative is them bonding, dealing with their history, Rory applying to Harvard and, you know, going through that, and her mother dealing with her leaving home, and it's very much about them, and the males are kind of supporting characters, and that was quite refreshing and I think more shows and movies like that are definitely needed. Each female character has a best friend, which I think is really, really rare. It's so rare, I think, to see proper developed strong female friendships that obviously have their ups and downs but don't thrive on kind of bitchiness or one-upping each other or this competitive vibe. I loved seeing just friendships that were filled with love and of course disagreements, but ones that lasted throughout the show's kind of 7-season history, you know. And I really thought that was really lovely. Problems with the show though, I think mainly just is Rory, which I feel bad about saying, she's like the main character, but she did irritate me quite a bit. Yeah. I think she made a lot of wrong decisions, which is not bad. Obviously everybody makes mistakes, everybody has those days, but I just think consistently she was made out to be the person that was in the right in the situation when she clearly was not. Like, let's take an example. That time when she was driving she was in the car with Jess and he was driving and he crashed the car, and she was like, oh, it's partly my fault because I got in the car, I told him to keep driving, and it's not just him, and everyone was like demonizing him, going, no, Rory, you're an angel, you were just caught up in this like bad boys like behavior. And I was, and everyone just thought she could do no wrong, and then she sometimes would be like, no, I did something wrong, and be kind of like the hero, I guess. But then when anyone criticized her, she would get instantly kind of offended. Like when she's applying for jobs from, like, she's leaving the university she's at and she's trying to apply for jobs, and she just like takes every rejection as like a personal attack, and then her mum kind of points out like, oh, well, you kind of had it easy up till now, you know, obviously she's very smart, so she got into her top school, she got into her top uni, and it's like, well, yeah, you had it pretty easy, and then like one setback and she's like, oh, my life is over, like, where do I go? And I was just anyway, I just kind of carried on watching up so long because I really loved the supporting characters. I loved Suki, I really loved Lane, I liked Luke, I wanted him to like succeed in life. To sum it up, there were parts I liked. Rory's annoying, that's it. Cool, that's my review. Thanks for watching this video. As always, leave me thoughts on what I've said. What? leave me your opinions and thoughts on the things that I've mentioned, and tell me what you've been watching or enjoying this past month. Okay, I'm losing it, I swear. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.